In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew on leg bands flat instead of in the round. I know this can be super tricky, especially on bummies, trying to sew your leg bands on in the round, but there is another way to do it. You can sew these on flat. The only difference is that you'll have a seam here in your crotch. For this tutorial, I already have my bummies pattern cut out. So the first thing that you're going to do is lay your bummies pieces right sides together on top of each other. Line these up at the top and at the very bottom on both sides. After you do that, you are going to pin both sides because we are going to sew those. We are not going to sew the crotch closed in order to sew the leg bands on straight. So we're going to go ahead and sew one of these sides closed. You're going to start at the very top of your bummies, line up those fabrics together, put them under your presser foot, and then you're going to go ahead and serge down this whole side of your bummies. After you do your first side, you're going to go ahead and sew your second side closed, and remember, do not sew the crotch for this. After you have both sides of your bummies sewn, we're going to get our leg bands and get those ready. So you're going to fold it in half long ways, wrong sides touching. So you want whatever your print is to be facing out. You're going to pin one end of your leg band, and then you're going to go to the opposite end and you're going to pin that one as well. After you have both ends pinned, what you're going to do is fold this in half, and you're going to meet up your pins or the ends of your leg bands. And this is going to show you the middle of that band. So after you fold it in half, you're going to go ahead and put a pin right here at this middle point. So I leave my bummies inside out for this. And what you're going to do is just kind of open them up, and then you're going to take your leg band and you're going to pin the middle of your leg band to the side seam of your bummies. And then you're going to pin one of the ends to the bottom edge of your bummies where it is straight. Then you're going to go to the other end of your leg band and you're going to pin that one on the same way. You're going to line up the flat edge of your band with that flat edge where the crotch of your bummy is. So once that is pinned on, you should have it pinned in 3 different places, and when you pick up your bummies and stretch it out, you'll see how we're going to sew this on flat now. You're going to start at one of your leg bands and you're going to put this leg band corner up against the corner on your bummies, slide that under your presser foot, put your presser foot back down, and then you're going to serge for just a few seconds just to get it started. So I'm going to slide my hand under my leg band where my next pin that I'm sewing to is. Make sure as you're serging this on that all of your fabrics are lined up, because if they're not, you may have holes. So only stretch your leg band to the next pin that you are serging towards. You'll know if you're stretching enough if your leg band is laying flat or flush up against your bummies. As you approach your first pin that you're sewing to, you're going to have to take your pin out. So just use one hand and hold your leg band down to the bummies of where that pin is, so that when you take it out, you're not losing that tension there for your stretch. Then after you sew over that, you can stick your hand back under your leg band. Only stretch your leg band to your pin. Do not stretch all of your bummies, and then just continue serging all the way down. Now when you get to the very bottom of your last pin, just make sure that your leg band corner is lined up with the corner of your bummies at that crotch area there. So when you're all done serging that and you cut your tail off, this is what it's going to look like. So you have this side, and then here's what the back will look like. Now we're going to repeat that. I'm going to show you from a different angle. So again, we're going to get our other leg band ready to add on to our bummies. So you're gonna take your leg band piece, you're gonna fold it in half long ways with your print facing out or wrong sides touching. You're gonna pin one end, and then you're gonna go pin the opposite end of your leg band. After you do that, now you're gonna fold your leg band in half, matching it up at the pins, and then you're gonna put a pin in the middle of your leg band here where you have it folded. Okay, so here's sewing on the leg band from a different angle, just in case you can see a little bit better from this direction. After you have both of your leg bands sewn on, now you're gonna have your bummies inside out, right sides touching, and you're gonna line this up down at the crotch. So you want both of your leg bands to be lined up, and then you're gonna put a pin here so that these stay together and that they're nice and straight. And then you're going to pin the other side the same exact way. And you also want to make sure that your seams are lined up. So the seams that are right after the edge of the bummy leg band, you want to make sure that when you are sewing this straight across here, that everything is nice and lined up. And another trick that you can do is you can push one of your seams in one direction and the one underneath going in the opposite direction. So that way when you sew across the bottom, those seams line up perfectly. So now you're gonna sew straight across this crotch. Here's a little trick for you. What you can do is after you have started sewing and your needles are in the up position, you're gonna grab that serger tail and pull it out straight, and then you're gonna bring it around underneath your presser foot to where your knife is. And that way when you go ahead and sew across the bottom of this, it's just gonna cut that tail off, and then your end of your serger tail will already be finished for you. So this is what that will look like. So as you can see, it pulls the serger tail into the threads that you're sewing, and that way you don't have to worry about tying off any knots or anything like you would with this other end. So after you have sewn across the bottom of your bummies, if you did the thing with the seams where you laid them in opposite directions, your seams should be pretty perfectly lined up with that crotch seam. The inside will look like, as you can see, one of the seams is going in one direction and the one underneath it is going in the opposite direction.